We have ourselves a U.S. Navy sailor taking to Reddit, trying to throw out some fighting words in what are the most controversial topics, as he pretty much in summaries is saying here, a degree does not make officers smart. Why is it so easy for them to commission versus somebody that's enlisted that has a degree? And these are some of his thoughts. He says another controversial topic, since before the birth of the Navy, getting commissioned was a privilege for the rich. Therefore, those who could afford to go to school came in commission. I've asked some of the pilots around my command and a few others what they received in college. Results were 7 business degrees, 4 accounting degrees, 5 kinesthetic degrees, and 2 communications. As an enlisted, we on average come in with no degree and opt in to getting one while we are active. I've also noticed up to until 2020 reading through the program's most requirements to make captain is having a master's degree. On average, your enlisted has a bachelor's at minimum in very lucrative degrees, whether it be STEM or business related. Most are even more educated than their COs and even lieutenant commanders. This also comes with the fact that they've already had 5+ years of experience in the Navy, so here are my questions. Why is it the sailors who go out of their way to get paid knowledge and get very expensive education to stick out are only worth a couple of points on a test? What he means by this is that there's only 4 points for a bachelor's degree that's counted towards your advancement promotion. And by the way, that's only from going from E3 to E4, E4 to E5, and E5 to E6, nothing above that. And he says, why is the Navy making it harder and harder for enlisted to get commissioned with age and time requirements? Also, why is it easier for someone who has 0 experience and a kinesthetic degree to become our boss, and yet we have to jump through hoops with an engineering degree and 8+ years to get commissioned? Let's back up for a second. Saying an enlisted person is more experienced just on pieces of paper than a commanding officer or lieutenant commander in most situations, I'd say, is a very rough statement there, because I don't think that's true at all. A lot of people are trying to get their master's degrees even before they're going for that captain level. I don't want to say that claim is true. There's a lot of enlisted people that do have degrees, not all of them. I don't know what the stat is now, but there are plenty of them. You can easily find them out there, but I'm not going to say this is the majority. So I've wrote down a few things that I want to address, but before you get your panties in a bunch at this guy as well, I'm going to let you know people have corrected him, and I will go over some of my favorite responses, but here's a few ideas as to why I think this is and to answer his question. First off, these are all checks in the box, right? You got the degree, check. You meet the physical standards, check. You don't have any legal issues, check. Your medical's good, check. So that is something that you have to look at. Is it's not like this like arbitrary, like, well, you met the box, but did you really meet it? I mean, there's a point where it is just a box. It has to get checked. Second off, as somebody that's coming to you with a degree, 2 of them that you mentioned, I'm going to say, why did I get it? Was it because I wanted to sit there and have, my golden ticket opportunity to commission? Partially that was an option I wanted, but I also wanted the option to, if I wanted to retire from the military and use it and tailor my experience the rest of my enlisted time in, and I could actually, find ways to tailor it to that degree and make myself more valuable. That was one. And another one was if I wanted to get out and say I changed my mind and something happened, pregnancy, whatever else, and I had that change of heart. My third answer is to why are there not any more points besides 4 points dedicated to people that are enlisted trying to move up through the ranks, or you have people that are going commissioned? And I guess that should give you more incentive to, not stay on the enlisted path and go commission if that's really what you're aiming for. But I will say the military is paying you to do the job that which they paid you for. That was to do this enlisted job. So they're like, I'll give you some crumbs. Cool, you did it. But really, if you want to make an impact, that's what you should be aiming for. And if they did add more points towards people getting college degrees, what do you think would happen? We'd have a lot of people being full-time students just trying to do that, where we already have this issue with collaterals and people are trying to climb their way to the top. And essentially, it would just create more pull away from people actually having mission impact on the enlisted side. My fourth thing here is, why do you see someone so easily coming out of college being able to join? That's partially because, look, there's a lot of baggage for most people that are coming through at older ages, and that's part of it is the fact they don't have family, don't have legal issues. They're fresh out of college. They're fresh. They're ready to go. They're eager. There's a lot of meat on the bone as far as time as well. I'm sure there's some kind of stat that they have out there that shows if you let people come in after that, you might not get all the value out of what you're wanting from them. They could be med boarded out. They could have a bunch of other issues that go on. And so that's what I'm going to say. I think there's some age limits on some of this stuff as well. Realize that there's people that are good at managing the sailors on the enlisted side and being that influential person to really advocate their expertise as far as that goes. But at the same token, there's other sides of this where people are really good at managing the mission and how that would be executed and how that is a different side of this beast to make sure the job gets done. In getting to some of those topics people were covering in rebuttal, Tim says, I'm not going to pile on top of the wild claims everyone's got it covered. For the few JOs reading this post in the comments or even future aspiring officers, I'll tell you what my prior enlisted mentor told me when I insisted I wanted to enlist, and he talked me out of it. Going officer directly makes you more valuable at the senior ranks because you're still young enough to handle all the BS. Your job may be to be Devo now, but your real purpose is to run the Navy at some point at the headquarters level. No one gives a S if you're a prior enlisted or not. It sure as shit doesn't make the work easier just because you are enlisted. These staffs always have a master chiefs to weigh in on the enlisted matters, so they're not going to you to weigh in on that stuff. They care if you're educated, poised enough to engage with Congress, political/senior leaders. Can you lead the staff of military, civilians, and contractors? Most importantly, are you worth the extra investment to get you to the next milestone because you'll stick it around longer? Master's degrees are mostly a check in the box to help weed people out at promotion boards. They're also used as recovery periods or allow people to start families before another grueling tour. I'm not saying there aren't enlisted people who can't do these things. There absolutely are, but in the end, it's all about timing. Unfortunately, we all have that time age limits, and if you spend 5 to 10 years as enlisted and then 10 years trying to prove yourself as an officer, you're not going to make it to those key senior officer jobs when needed by the Navy. So set your expectations now. In 20 years, do you want to be leading at a highly strategic level, or are you content being a cool Mustang department head and punching out at 25 or 30? Everyone gets to choose their own path. Choose wisely. He makes a valuable point in regards to like, how many people do you know that have been prior enlisted that make it to the 05 plus level as far as being in a command position? There's just not many, and there's a reason for that. It could be the timing with family and being fatigued with the military in general, could be their aspirations, could be a lot of things, but once you get past 20 years in this organization, in the old retirement system, you're pretty much staying usually because you had a passion for it, right? Because as every day passes that you're still giving towards the military past 20, depending on if you were commissioned, and you already met the requirements, usually staying longer isn't going to benefit you much more, and the diminished returns will be there. But I understand people do enjoy it, and that's kind of my thought process. And that's because you can actually go and get a job somewhere else that might even pay you more, but who knows? This guy writes, you're describing a caste system with social stratification that, in the case of the Navy, is out of touch with its workforce, degree or no. You enter the system as a shit shoveler. The customs and courtesies that you must display reinforce this hierarchy, and your only relief is escape into higher castes or civilian life. You have not and will not, by quotations, right by reason, wrong by rank, until you sell out and leave or buy into the tow line. I left at 11 and have no regrets. Remember that every time you re-enlist, you are buying back into the system. He's not wrong. I would say that, I'm a person that's been in going on 14 years very soon, that I still have to salute the 01 that's graduating from officer candidate school. That's just what I've bought into. I've agreed I will follow those customs and courtesies. But I have to say also, if you look at everything in this tainted hierarchy view, that you're pretty much going to sit there and just hate life and be like, I'm just a peasant. When in reality, that's not the truth. And I think a lot of enlisted people need to know the value they bring. And if you carry yourself in that way, it's just a salute. It's just a rank that you're calling them, right? And you can be influential on the enlisted side. You just have to find that voice, and that is a very hard thing to do. So this leaves me to you guys as far as, what do you think? Do you think that the officer community should have more stringent somehow check boxes that go into this thing to make sure people can actually be qualified officers? Or do you think that would just be more bureaucracy added to what people claim is a mixed workforce that is out of touch with the military already? And as we see degrees getting pushed even further and further and the finances of more and more debt, what do you think is the reality, and what happens if that ever crashes? How would that impact this officer system? Because that's something I actually do consider and think about very often. But let me know down in the comments below. If you guys have other questions, comments, concerns, please let me know down in the comments below. Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, all the good stuff. I love you guys. I'll see you next time.